Okay, so yesterday also we have seen some of the terminology for your compensation, and today also we're going to see some of the terminology. This is basically it is a requirement gathering. How you're going to do a requirement gathering with your client for compensation. So this is a sheet. It's like which was prepared long time back. So the same thing, SF has also incorporated into their worksheet. So after the sheet it is over, we'll also see the worksheet. So this sheet has been divided into the context and a business process, what kind of a business process they have. Then they have a planning and unit, then workflow, salary sheet, and then you will see the bonus sheet, the stock sheet, right? So like this, you will see all these details. Let's go ahead one by one and see what actually, what kind of a question it is and what the client has actually given the answer. So the first thing you are seeing here, which is like what component of compensation does company have, right? So component of compensation we have all discussed yesterday, if you remember. We have discussed about your what component exists, right? Monetary and the non-monetary component in monetary and non-monetary. Also, we have seen what kind of a stock and option which is there, right? So same thing here. What component they have into their organization. So that is, they will be telling you like merit bonus, and you can see there is a stock also which is coming. And then you can see this question too, which is who's eligible to participate in a compensation? So the client has given all the employee except managers, certain locations, certain region, what all who will be eligible. So they have to provide that detail. Nowadays, you can see there is a COVID going on, so very unlikely to be, that they will do salary increment for the back staff. I think mostly they will do for the operation team, because the operation team send because they are the one who's like from where all these profits and everything is coming, right? So then you can see this question 2.1 is basically it's a part of a question 2, who are not eligible to participate in compensation. So if anybody who's not eligible to participate in a compensation, mostly like people who are on contractual, they are not eligible. Most of the organization, it's like no, they are not eligible to be part of a compensation. Then you can see this question, it is 2.1.1. For those not eligible, should they appear in the compensation form? Right. So if you want them to appear in a compensation form, even if they are not eligible, so you can tell them, or if um, they you do not want them to appear in the compensation form, that also you can specify. Then are some people eligible for some salary component but not others? Now, obviously, not everybody is eligible for all the salary component, right? Like, for example, in this case, directors they are eligible for stock and options, right? Which is like a consultant, they will not be eligible for all these, right? So who's eligible for what component? Basically, you can write, so you can see eligible for merit, but not for lump sum and promotion, right? So like this also you can specify, but here you can see they have not specified which category you not be eligible for lump sum and promotion, right? Whether it's a manager or consultant level, right? So you also have to specify this detail. Now, third question it is, how frequently does compensation occur? Normally, it occurs annually only, and annually, most likely to be when your appraisal is happening. That is where the compensation take place. But certain organizations they also have quarterly, annually detail also. And if they have the focal or an anniversary detail, that also you have to specify. So focal or anniversary also we have discussed yesterday. What is the meaning of a focal and anniversary? That also we have seen in your focal and anniversary. So here you can see the focal and anniversary. This is something we have discussed yesterday. And after that, you will see, is there a need to plan for individual compensation changes as part of a performance review form? So, in case if there is your performance review form which is there, which we have already finished off with the goal and performance management, and in case if like the compensation, has to happen for that. So you can specify that anniversary form and 90 days form. What is 90 days form? 90 days form, it is when people they try to complete their probation, right? Then the company also decides whether employee is going to be confirmed or not confirmed in the company. And apart from this confirm and not confirm in the company, they also with certain organization when they confirm you in the company, they also tends to increase your salary, right? So in that case also you can see there's some compensation if it is there. Is a multi-currency required? Like for example, from India, if you're supporting to different uh, countries, so in that case, multiple currency it will be required. Is multi-currency support is required? Should default be local or the functional currency? So whether you want them to be default as a local or functional currency, you can also specify that. How are hourly employees handled in the company, and whether they are different from the salaried employee? So in that case, it's like an hourly rate versus annualized rate. Pay grade wise, you handle the hourly employee in the organization. Then you can see are these sample worksheet. If you have any sample worksheet, so probably we use take a sample worksheet from the client, so that to understand how they're doing the at present the compensation. Then what high level changes from the previous, if there is any changes from the previous worksheet they have been using and or template they have been using, if there is any changes, so that that can be mapped into the system. So this detail also you can see it is coming here and you can specify. Then you can see another detail, it is coming here as your planning unit and grow. So what is the timing for planning? Now obviously this timing for planning, it will be after your when your performance management it is done, because that is the only time you go ahead with your compensation and you try to increase the salary package, right? So that's a compensation that you do. Who will do the planning? So normally it is like senior manager and the GM, they are involved into doing all these compensation planning. And so you can all these requirement team, the answer suggestion column that you seen, this you have to take it from your client and client will fill all these information and let you know. Then approximately how many number of a planner means your do all compensation manager follow the same schedule, which means all those compensation manager who are supposed to be the part of a planning, do they have a same schedule? Obviously they will have a more or less they will be having the same schedule, right? Because the company has to follow the same schedule, right? They can't delay for one department and another department they can do early, right? So everybody has to be in the same in the same time, that for whom the salary increase will happen. Approximately how many number of a planner? Planner means who's going to do the compensation. Basically, it's always a department head who does the compensation and then they pass on to the senior manager to whom they are reporting and he confirms it and then it goes to the HR. So this is a kind of a workflow which exists in majority of a company. So now then you can see there is a workflow. Workflow, it's nothing, it's just a notification. Now, majority of the time, how does it work? When we launch the compensation, we always first launch the compensation to the compensation administrator just to see that everything is working fine. Once the compensation has been launched to the compensation admin, then from there, it gets passed on to the manager. Then manager gives a rating, then it goes to the second manager and it goes to the HR. So these are the four level which is involved. But in case if some companies they do not want to include the second level manager, in that case it directly goes to the HR, and then there are only three level of um, this workflow which is there. So here you can see whom do you envision starting and participating in the compensation process. So here they have given manager, second level manager, HR, and comp admin. This is the first step, right? For whom the form is going to come. Then you can see modification step, how many and what order. If there is any modification which is required, then how many and in what order it should come as a modification step. Then you have a what is calibration or approved process. Calibration we have already done in your GMPM, right? So here you can see if there is a calibration, formal calibration, organization-wide review, department review, HR-led or the line management, if there is any calibration which is happening, then you will see who will have the access to executive review. Executive review is like, for example, team, see any compensation, it will be done by the manager, but manager will only be seeing the template for the employee who are reporting to them. So what is the meaning of executive review? Executive review, it means that somebody who has an access to all the template and all the employee. So if you want to give certain access to people, you can also go ahead and give this access to certain like GM and CFO, so, and they will have an access to everything and they can view everything that who will be having what access and what is actually happening on their compensation template. Then will you shut off employee import while compensation planning is occurring? So it is like, if the compensation planning is happening, so you want to shut off your any employee import option, because if any new employee which is there, it's like, then there is a salary sheet. So salary is basically, it's nothing, it's just that what all component that you want in your compensation. So you can see what compensation related component are there. So merit, promotion, adjustment, lump sum, whatever it is, right? So we have already discussed like what all component which has to be included. So all those component you can include in your monetary, non-monetary into your system. And then what if there is any guideline for any matrix? So the guideline you can see your they have here as a job level, pay grade, rating, benchmark, budget group, right? So these are the guideline which is involved. Then you can see what is the benchmark use. Benchmarking team, if you remember, we have already covered yesterday that benchmarking is nothing, it's just that your market analysis and market research together, it is known as a benchmarking technique. So here you can see your what is the benchmarking used for comp ratio and the range penetration. Comp ratio and the range penetration, it is also play its own importance, right? Because in that case, you can decide whether employee is getting as a more than market value or less than market value, and if the employee has to get the promotion. So that is also you can see your detail. If the comp ratio is used as a pay range, minimum, maximum, a consistent percentage from a midpoint. This is something I'll show you in the, when we are actually doing the configuration for the template. So it is like you have your midpoint and your, like for example, if I come here, so you will see that you have your, like starting point, what they have specified here. They have specified here as a minimum and maximum. Okay. So you have a minimum, and then you have a maximum, and then there is also a default, right? So if you want to use as a default anything, so you can always come here and use this as a default. So you will find your all these defaults. Now you can also use minimum, default, and maximum, or if you want to use default at the later on, or if you want to use in a bracket, that's something we'll discuss it with the when we will do the configuration. So any kind of a way that you want to display, you can select it. What are the factor used for to define a pay range? So pay grade, so like who will at what salary, this is basically, it is from the country to country, you will find it is different, right? Everybody has a different pay grade. So here you can see these are the factor which is used for the pay grade. Then for each component, can planner enter amount or percentage or amount? This is also an option team, which is actually given in the configuration that if you want to see that into the percentage or if you want to see that into amount, when we will, from Monday onwards, when we will start doing the configuration, then I'll show you that how you can do all these percentage and amount. Are there any component that should have a percentage based on anything besides salary? These are nothing, it's just a formula. And there would be certain column, where you have to put in formula. how you can put in formula, how you can do VLOOKUP, all these detail we will see with the when we will do the configuration. So then, are there any component that should have a default amount? So if there is any component which have a default, acha, your compensation you can configure in a two-way. One, it can directly have a default amount. Another, you can do that manually. So normally, like if any rating which is coming from GMPM, so what you do, you the merit which is there, right? You put it as a default amount. Like if an employee gets this much of rating, so it will default this much of amount to them, right? So that's a merit option which you normally put it as a default. And rest of the option, if you can keep it as a manual, because manually you go ahead and manager go ahead and makes lots of changes, right? So that way is also you can go ahead and do that. If you want everything to be automatic, you can also go ahead and put that everything to be automatic. But normally we don't do. We generally put the merit section, which is like the rating which is coming from goal and performance, right? We put that into default, and rest of the thing we put it as a merit. So you can see there is a guideline limit for hard and soft, and we have also discussed about the your guideline limit, right? And I told you that what is hard limit and what is soft limit. So soft limit it is you have achieved 5 for the 5% rating, but your manager do not like you, so he has given you the low rating, which is 4%. Now 4% is a very low rating, right? So nobody will like to stay in such cases. So there is a guideline which the organization has set that anybody who will be getting 5 out of 5 rating, they will have a 10% straight away as a hike. And if manager wants to give them more, they can give them more. But 10% as a company guideline, they will be getting as a increase in their salary, right? So that's a hard limit. Then if hard limit should amount over limit be allocated elsewhere. Now what happens? Let's suppose you have your merit section, like this is a merit section, right? And you are getting, let's suppose, 1 lakh as a salary, or maybe whatever the salary. I'm in just this case, I'm taking as a 1 lakh as a salary. Now, 1 lakh obviously it is very less. So if your organization says that you will be getting as a 10% hike, all right. And in this case, let's assume in the consultant level, uh, your salary, it is like 95,000. All right, so 10% of it, I don't know how much it will come, but okay, let's calculate it. This is coming 9,500, right? So the salary range for this one, you can see for consultant level, which is from 90,000 to 1 lakh, right? So obviously, if I increase 9,500, which is like this much as the salary which employees get, this will exceed this amount, right? So what it is telling you that if you want to adjust your the this if the hard limit should amount over limit be allocated somewhere else. So like for example, if you have this policy 10%, but it is exceeding this one, so in this case you can see how much it is coming extra. This plus this, so you can see 4,500, which is coming extra, right? Now, in case if you do not want to promote an employee, because if you remember, team, we discussed yesterday that if your range penetration is reaching more than 100%, then you have no choice except to promote a person, right? So in this case, you will have to promote a person. But if you do not want to promote a person, so in such case, what you can do, you can basically give the maximum salary as a 1 lakh. All right. So in the such case, what you do, 4,500, you put it as a lump sum. Now, lump sum amount is never included into your CTC, and it is just that extra amount which has been given to you. So that is basically it's a lump sum. And then after that, is there a budget for salary? If so, how it is calculated? Now, this budget for obviously for compensation will be there, because in the starting of a financial year, every department they get a certain budget, right? And within the same budget, every department has to function. So this is what is a budget. Are there multiple budget pool? So you can include everything into one pool, and then you can distribute the amount. But if you want to keep a separate pool for merit, salary, lump sum, promotion, adjustment, so that also you can do that. Alright, is a budget hard limit or soft limit? So you can see is like soft limit means like if it is exceed a particular amount, and like for example, let's suppose you have a budget for 10,000, but while doing the compensation, if it has exceeds 12,000, so like do you want that to be accepted or you want only 10,000 to be there, right? If you want that to be accepted, so it is soft limit. If you do not want, if you want that the budget should only be taken place to the 10,000, then it should be the hard limit. Is the proration applied? Proration depends upon the company to company, how they want this proration to apply. We have already discussed about the proration, and we have also discussed about your how this, right? I think somewhere we discuss about the proration, like how it will prorate, and like even if a person joins for 10 month, how it's going to be prorate and what you'll be doing. So that also you can decide on the proration. If proration is applied, then to which component? Proration, if it is applied, then to which component? It is not all the component of proration has to be applied, right? So here also you can see to which component the proration is getting applied. How is the proration determine last adjustment date, hiring date, or specified? How you are determining, your proration detail? Should proration be percentage based to the budget, or if the oh yeah, most of the time it is always a percentage based, right? Like for example, if this is amount, and if a person has worked for 10 months, then you prorate in terms of a percentage and calculate and pay to the employee. Use raise prorating planner recommended raise amount are prorated by some percentage to calculate final total. But this is again, it's like, whether you want to do it a proration based on the percentage base or whatever you want to go ahead and do that. So that is also your proration base that you will see. And our rating used to drive compensation guideline. So if the rating which you have received from the your performance template, if it is driving your compensation guideline, so that also you can specify. But normally, as I said, for merit, yes, we normally take it from the rating which has come from the performance management, right? So automatic that gets increased. Are the performance form completed or in progress? So like when you complete your performance or in progress, whatever it is, should overall or calculated rating be used? Like, acha, there is a see what is overall and calculated rating? Calculated rating, it is like suppose you're rating, like for example, team, if you remember, we have done the performance management and we use a 5 rating, right? Out of 5 rating, what is 5 rating? 5 rating is overall rating. What is calculated rating? Like out of 5, employee has achieved 4.5. So that is a calculated rating. So how do you want this to be calculated? You want this to be calculated in the overall rating, or you want this to be calculated into your calculated rating, right? So that also you have an option. Are the rating numeric on the order texture? So this is also in the configuration, you will find that whether you can select the numeric or text, or you can select the both the option also. Then can planner change the rating from the performance review while the planning compensation? So it is like, like for example, you have achieved 4.5 rating, and if like, can your planner means manager? Can your manager change the rating? Right. So this is something that we have seen that in the calibration, that how they decrease or increase your rating. So the same thing, it's like, it is asking about that, can they change this rating? Is there our promotion, should a drop down list of the job title be used to specify what person is being promoted to? If you're promoting an employee and like for example, consultant to senior consultant, right? So you should have a drop down list, like, what is the hierarchy that you are promoting. So in that case, you can list down all the drop down list. Display hourly rate or the annualized rate for the hourly employee. Normally, hourly employee do not become a part of a compensation, right? How should pay range be displayed? How do you want the pay range? Like this is the same point. I think I covered that in the top right. Minimum, maximum, and mid level, midpoint. only, right? So I told you that, there is whichever way you want, you can actually display that option, right? Minimum, default, and the maximum, right? So same way here also. So this is again something we will see that in a system, because once we configure and once we launch a template, then you will be able to understand better. Should planner enter effective date for the component? Which one? So like, should the manager enter the effective date for the component? Like, which effective date it's like, which is getting used. So is the cash flow impact relevant for the which component? So like if there is any cash flow which is happening, and normally this will be for all the component you have, right? So then there is a bonus sheet. Now this bonus calculation has been moved to the variable pay. Earlier, it used to happen in a compensation only, but now it has been moved to the various, variable pay. So these are detailed for your bonus. We're not covering the variable pay, but let's just discuss about the question because it is coming. So here you can see, are there different bonus plan that needs to be planned separately? So bonus is nothing, it's just a variable pay you have, right? So if there is any, one employee can have a different bonus plan also, maybe one plan, two plan, three plan, right? So in such case, you can use those bonus plan. Do you use different rating for bonus calculation and salary calculation? If you want to use a rating calculation or bonus calculation, so depends upon what kind of a calculation you're rating. One, it is like you're using from the performance. Another, it is like, you can assign the target amount, and based on that, your calculation is happening for the bonus. How are the bonus target calculated? Bonus target means like just a budget, right? In variable pay, we don't use budget, we use the target amount. So in that case, we use a target amount to be used as a calculated amount. So you can see that how your calculated amount it is coming. Is there a default bonus amount when form is first open? Or yeah, obviously it will take it from the target amount, right? So that will become as a default amount. How is the bonus budget calculated? There is no budget here, team, because normally we don't use budget in variable pay, but in certain very rare scenario that you will use a budget, because here we use as a your target amount, which is like we do for all the planning and everything. Then how is the bonus budget? Does the planner have discretion on a bonus amount? Planner manager can always control everything, whatever the amount and everything is there, right? So they always have this option. What field are editable? Like if you want to give this option as a editable, which manager can override that option. So you can always go ahead and give this option as a override. Is a planner discretion? What is a guideline for percentage payout? How much is a percentage payout? All these formula and everything you have to set up before launching the template. So we will see how we can set up all these formula. Then are their company or the department achievement percentage that factor into the bonus payout? So there are basically it's a individual percentage, then there is a team percentage, and then there is a business percentage, right? Same thing here, company, department, and factor, right? So like how do you want that to be displayed? Name of a sheet, what is the name of a sheet that you want, you can write here. Then there is a stock detail, is a stock and something which we have already discussed in yesterday's session. What is a stock and option? How do you want those guidelines to be there? How do you want those calculation to take place, right? And how do you want the date to be there? So here you can see there is a detail option is coming. What custom field do you want to put that? If there is any custom field, and if you have any custom field, you want only the text field or you want the formula field. All right, so like that also you can specify what you want in the custom and the formula field. What field should a planner be able to edit? Like any field that they want to edit, what data should display on the form? Is there a need for more than one statement? Statement is nothing, it's just your appraisal letter, right? So how do you want those? You can also edit your appraisal letter. You can put your company logo, edit it, whatever you want. So that is what it is telling you about the compensation statement. Now that was about your requirement gathering.